Disinformation knows no borders, and today the stakes seem higher than ever. Welcome to Truth Talks, a brave new podcast series tackling the challenges of fake news and propaganda head on. Join us for engaging short conversations with experts from all EU member states and Ukraine as we uncover the truth behind dominant disinformation trends and explore the strategies shaping Europe's fight against manipulation. In this episode, we are zooming in on Spain. Our guest today is Pablo Hernández, head of academic research at Maldita, a center for investigative reporting, journalism, education, and fact-checking in Spain. Welcome to Truth Talks.
Hello, nice to meet you, and I'm really pleased to be here in your podcast.
We are pleased as well. So, Pablo, disinformation often exploits social divisions, political debates, and cultural sensitivities. In Spain, what are the most persistent disinformation narratives?
Well, one thing that I think we have to keep in mind when we are talking about disinformation is that disinformation is following the public debates. Most of the time, the disinformation is not creating these debates, but following them and trying to take advantage of this attention from the public to spread further their disinformation narratives. So the main narratives, disinformation narratives, they're changing all the time. And maybe have to choose one topic about disinformation in Spain. Probably will be the disinformation against immigrants. And I think that the main narratives in this topic are more or less the same narratives that they are being used in other parts of Europe or other parts of the world. They are mainly presenting immigrants like dangerous people, that they want to change the way people live here in Spain, that they are taking advantage of the public money, receiving lots of public money for doing nothing. And they're like some sort of a threat for the Spanish people. But probably the change is not so much the narrative, but the difference here in Spain is the nationalities that they are being targeting here in Spain. Probably are people from North Africa, probably from Morocco most of the time. And probably if you compare these techniques of this, the way that disinformation against immigrants works here in Spain with other countries, the narratives would be more or less the same. But probably the nationalities of the people target in these narratives would be different. Probably in Poland, they are not attacking people from Morocco because they know, people who spread this information, that the way to get people from Poland angry about other people coming from other countries probably would be not talking about people from Morocco. Probably would be talking about, I don't know exactly the nationality, but probably you have in mind a nationality or one or two nationalities that they are very used for people who attack disinformation. I mean, the immigrants with disinformation. But also, I was talking about how disinformation adapts to what's going on in the public debate. We have a really good example of how this information works in the floods in Valencia that we have at the end of last year. And that was really huge because it was something really dramatic. All the attention of all the Spanish public was put in what's going on there in Valencia. So the people who spread this information knows that if you have the attention of the public in something that's going on, if they can put their messages there, it's easier for them to make these messages popular and get viral. And first of all, we have this condition, lots of attention from the public. Second, there's not really good information in the first moments of what's going on, at the extent of the destruction of the floods. There are lots of things that weren't not really clear. So we have like this lack of real information. And when you don't have accurate information, it's easier for people who is making things up, who is trying to create this information, to put the lights there in the public debate and make these lights believable for people who is following what's going on. And third, we have this emotional situation. It was really dramatic. So it's kind of easy to create the situation that really use people who spread this information and who creates this information that exploits the emotional responses of the people, and was really easy for people who create this information to make people angry about whoever they want to make people angry. In this case, we have this problem with the response of different governments, different institutions. So the anti-system narratives saying that uh, politicians are worthless, they are studying and doing nothing, and all the institutions, democratic institutions that should be working to help citizens, if they are not working, this perfect scenario for people who spread disinformation, anti-system disinformation, to start spreading their narratives and make people angry about the inefficiency of the government and the institutions that should be helping common citizens. So we have this situation with emotions, lack of information, of attention, and with different topics, because we have lots of climate change disinformation, because it was like a natural disaster with really, really heavy rains. And there were like these conspiracy theory narratives about, well, that's not natural, it's man made. Somehow they create this huge storm to attack the citizens in Valencia. So there was like a mix of really crazy conspiracy theories, more common denialism of climate change narratives, with the political and fight between different governments and different political parties about what happened there in Valencia, and with anti-system movements trying to create anger and trying to attack the system itself. And we have like lots of different types of disinformation, lots of different actors of disinformation going on in this around what happened there in Valencia.
So, from one side, it was a climate denialism, disinformation, versus man-made disinformation, that man-made floods were sent against Valencian and Spanish people. Yes.
Yeah, there was like a really crazy one that was is a TikTok video. It was really popular because we have this alert system chatbot. It's a chatbot in WhatsApp where people can alert us about pieces of disinformation that they found in social media or in their WhatsApp chats. And we received lots of alerts about a TikTok video about a guy that was saying that somehow somebody took the clouds from Morocco and sent these clouds to Valencia to attack Valencia. So it was like this narrative of it was not natural, has nothing to do with climate change. It was man-made, and also it was to help somehow Morocco and attack somehow a part of Spain. So we have these both narratives of an xenophobic narrative against Morocco, plus climate change denialism, because they can't believe that these huge rains are somehow related with climate change. No, climate change doesn't exist in their point of view. So they have to look for an alternative explanation. In this case, the alternative explanation, they took the clouds from Morocco and put them in Valencia. It was like crazy. But we received lots of time, and it's like, who's going to believe that? Well, maybe it's not believing this thing exactly, but probably they are creating doubts about, well, maybe that's too crazy, but isn't really natural what happened there? Is there something that could make that the rain was even heavier because of some, I don't know, new technology that helps somebody to do these kind of things? So maybe some of these conspiracy theories are really crazy, and you can think no one is going to believe that. But I think that there are some people that believe that, and also they create this environment of, okay, uh, it's not climate change, let's look for an alternative explanation. Maybe you don't believe this concrete alternative explanation, but maybe you start to think about, well, lots of people is saying that it's not natural, and lots of people is saying that it's not climate change, so I'm gonna look for another explanation. And that's also kind of an effect of this disinformation.
In the very beginning, you mentioned that disinformation is actually following public debates, but it's evident that there are certain public debates that are being more perennially exploited in disinformation choices. So, how would you explain that? For example, this climate denialism, anti-EU disinformation, anti-migrant disinformation. Why these are the most sexy targets for disinformation vultures?
I think that probably because there's someone taking advantage of these narratives. If you have this ideological agenda, for example, and you find a way to put the narrative that helps this ideological agenda in the public debates, even using this, if you don't have to use this information, probably you're interested in your agenda. So if you don't have to use, I mean, I think that people who use this information is not because they just want to use this information. They want to make their ideological agenda or their political agenda the winning agenda. But they don't care if they use real stuff or disinformation. So if they can use real stuff, it's good for them. But they have to use this information. They use it anyway. So I think that when they detect that this political debate could be helpful for their political agendas, they gone full speed to use this information to put their narratives, to try to get these narratives viral, to try to get the more people, the better, and try to make these narratives popular. Even if you don't convince all the people you reach, if you make these narratives popular, people get used to listen to this kind of stuff. And the next time they listen to it, probably they start to believe in a little bit more because they are used to if they're talking all the time about that, maybe it's not false. Maybe it's somehow right what these people is saying. So I think that the main goal is trying to promote their ideological agenda, and when they see that news event, something that is going on in the public debate, fits perfectly with them, they use it. And going back to the Valencian floods, for example, people who spread disinformation against immigrants, uh, this topic, it was not really, I mean, good for them. It's not really easy for them to put their narratives in this situation, but they did it anyway. For example, they start to say that immigrant people were stealing things from people affected by the floods. So it's like, okay, how I'm gonna attack immigrant people in this situation? They are stealing. Uh, or, for example, they were also some disinformation narratives attacking a Red Cross that was helping there. But one of the narratives were uh, Red Cross is not really helping Spanish people. Red Cross is helping all the time to people from Gaza, Palestinians from Gaza, or immigrants or whatever. But when Spanish people is in trouble, they are not helping and at all the Spanish people. It was a lie. But they use this situation to put this narrative against immigrants in the public debate, using these ways of thinking to try to link somehow something bad do that something bad that they say that immigrants were doing in the situation of the dramatic situation in Valencia.
In other countries, the theme that is reappearing is also this disinformation aimed against Ukraine in general. So it's so-called peace camp disinformation. The other kind of themes are anti-vax, generally anti-vaccine disinformation, and also, as I already mentioned, some kinds of narratives related to the European Union, anti-European Union. Is it the case in Spain as well?
Yeah, in the case of anti-vaccine disinformation, what we found is that during the pandemic was huge, the amount of disinformation about anti-vaccine. And then this kind of disinformation went down. Maybe now the situation in the United States probably is affecting the way the disinformation is moving all around the world, the narratives and the issues that are and we found disinformation about. But I think that anti-vaccine disinformation was huge. Now it's not so strong. The Ukraine situation during the invasion of Ukraine was huge, also. And now, with the change of the political situation with the United States and the debate about should we help more Ukraine or stop helping Ukraine, we are seeing how this narratives, especially against Zelensky and the Ukrainian government, are going back. And we are seeing again this kind of stuff. And the other thing is the European Union. This is something that it's present quite often here in Spain also, because they the way they people who spread this information, there are some political agenda and some ideological agenda that thinks that is good for them to attack European Union. But also the way we see here the European Union, I think that if you ask Spanish people, they think that is something good to be part of the European Union. But also, it's seen that something, an organization that is far from the day-to-day life of Spanish people, and with a little bit too much bureaucracy and a little too much paying attention to small things, and maybe some of the big problems of the Spanish people is not treated by European Union as people in Spain should things. But if you add something and you make like the you look for how Spanish people think or feel about European Union, I think that it's positive. But there are some people who trying to exploit these problems with European Union. It's something far from Spain, costs lots of money, does something very bureaucratic. Reaching agreements there is really difficult, and the decisions European Union take in Brussels, sometimes it's difficult to detect the results in everyday lives of the citizens. The decisions of our national government or our regional government are really close to us, and we know that if our government raises the taxes, we have to pay more next month or next year, and we feel it really close. But the decisions taken in European Union, I think that people feel these decisions like they are not so close to the Spanish citizens. And this situation could be used by people who spread disinformation to attack European Union with disinformation narratives that has nothing to do with the real life. But I don't think that these disinformation narratives against European Union are so successful. I mean, I think that can affect and lower a little bit the global and perception of the people in Spain about European Union can lower a little bit. But I don't think that Spain is anti-European Union at all. And even with these disinformation narratives, I think that Spanish population, they are really sure that it's a good thing to be there.
And resistant.
Yeah, I think so.
I would like now to ask you about the major actors that are either creating and or spreading disinformation in Spain.
Well, with this part, we in Maldita have a little problem because we work especially in the part of detecting disinformation and trying to give good information to the public. So our main line of work is this of detect this information and alert the people, hey, this is false. We have evidence that this is false. And when we say that this is false, it's because we have the evidence. The problem with attribution is that if we want to point someone and say, hey, you're spreading this information, we have to be sure that you are doing this intentionally. And to have evidence of the intentions of the people who is acting in social media is really difficult. And it takes lots of work of investigate what's going on with these actors and create the links between one and another. And they take lots of work. And our point of view is, okay, we have to choose. We don't have a workforce to do everything. So what we choose to do is detect the more pieces of this information we can, the better, and try to give the information to the public. The more information, good information, the better to the public, and that's our main goal. And the way we talk, I mean, the way we investigate the actors is not so deep to say, okay, I can tell you a list of main actors. We suspect of several people, several accounts, several organizations that they are intentionally spreading this information. But I'm representing Maldita, and when we say that something is false, it's because we have evidence. And if I have to say this is disinformation spreader, I need the evidence that probably I have suspect, but I don't have the enough evidence to point at a particular actor. I can tell you that I think that most of this information we see here in Spain is spread by domestic actors. And probably the FIMI situation, I mean, the interference for other countries, we think that there's the actors linked with other countries. But I think that the way these foreign actors are acting is they are like trying to spread, for example, let's talk about Russia, the pro-Russian narratives. But as I told you before, this kind of narratives can be popular in a moment when Spanish people is paying attention to what's going on in Ukraine. For example, at the start of the invasion, or now with all this political debate about what should we do with Ukraine with the change in the United States. But most of the time, they are not so popular. Probably they are trying to spread these narratives and they are not viral in Spanish social media. But the thing that they can do all the time is trying to push the narratives they like about what's going on here in Spain. Anti-system narratives, the narratives that say that European Union is worthless or a bureaucratic waste of money. These kind of narratives probably they are also spread by these actors. But I think that the people who create these narratives or who start spreading these narratives, probably they are not the foreign actors. Probably they are domestic actors. But the foreign actors use these narratives to divide the Spanish society, to create distrust about every institution, the government, but not the government. All the governments, all the politicians, they want to create this discourse about destroy everything. Nothing is working. We have to destroy everything. We have this slogan here in the Valencia floods. Only people save people, and that's something that lots of common citizens react and try to help people who was having bad times there in Valencia, and that's great. But there's some anti-system actors who use that to take a van and fill it with water and food and go to Valencia and say and record themselves and put the videos in social media saying, I'm here helping the people from Valencia. No one in the institutions is doing nothing from these people. I have to do that. Only people save the people. And is that from one side, it's really great that people, the solidarity of the people to help other people having trouble there in Valencia. But on the other side, is these people is trying to use the situation to make people believe that nothing is working in the Spanish democratic system. You have to destroy everything because is everything worthless? And that's a really dangerous message mixed with some really good and positive messages. So it's like this kind of stuff. Probably in this idea of only people safe people, it could be really interesting for Russian actors because well, the thing that is behind this slogan, this motto, is nothing in the system in Spain is working, and you only have to trust your neighbor and not your government.
Okay, now I would like to ask you about the major unique characteristics of disinformation landscape in Spain. What makes Spanish disinformation landscape exceptional, other than others?
Well, it's a tough one because I think that it's kind of lots of similarities with other countries. I think that we have here a problem that I don't know how it's working in other countries. I don't know how it's working in Poland. Is that we have not a clear definition of what a media outlet is. I mean, uh, there are some people that are political activists that present themselves like they are journalists. They are doing nothing related with journalism, but as far as we don't have a way to say, okay, this website is doing uh, journalism. These other websites that the format is like a news website, but you see what they are doing, and it's not journalism.
I understand. So it's like publicists, influencers,
Yeah, but the problem here is, for example, they have access to the Spanish Parliament. I mean, if you want to be a journalist working in the Spanish Parliament, you need accreditation. I don't know if this is the word, but you have you need the some they have to allow you to be there, and you have to be a journalist to be there. Not anyone can go there and cover the press conferences in the Spanish Parliament. But since there's not a difference, there's not something, not a way to make a difference between these real uh, media outlets and these outlets that they're not media, not journalistic at all. Some of them, they are going all the time to the Congress. And when they go to a press conference, they don't want to ask the politicians in front of them. They want to do some confrontation with these political congressmen that they are there. So uh, we have to talk about that there because they are using this position to spread this information and to attack the other journalists, because what they say is we have to go there to the Congress to ask the tough questions, because the so-called journalists are not asking them because they are part of the system. They are bought by the political parties. They are not really want to do real journalism. And we are doing real journalism, asking the hard questions to the politicians. And that makes, first of all, they use this to spread lots of disinformation. Second, they polarize a lot the political debates and the political environment here in Spain. And third, they are helping to create distrust about the real journalist. And the real journalist and we, the journalist and the media outlets, probably we are doing things not perfectly, or we're making mistakes and whatever. But it's the basic idea they use is that the idea to they have to destroy everything. Don't trust at all. Never anything said by a media outlet here in Spain, because they are just puppets of the politicians and the political elites. I'm telling you the truth, the alternative truth. And this discourse, I think that it's hurting very much not only the media environment, but the political environment and the public environment in Spain.
Sadly, it's not unique to Spain. I hear it's also characteristics of the modern political landscapes. Intentionally, I said political, not journalistic. Okay, so thank you so much. That brings us to an end of our conversation about disinformation landscape in Spain. Pablo, thank you so much for this fascinating talk.
Okay, it was a pleasure for me, and thank you.
Truth Talk series is part of the project Guardians of Truth, fact-checking during Poland's EU presidency, which is supported by European Media and Information Fund, managed by Calouste Gulbenkian Foundation.